Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Godspeed Today. I'm your host, Riley Roseby, and I am pleased to be joined by my good friend, Jason Kretsky. Jason, I'm sorry, before we get going, did I get that last name right?
Yeah, man, you got it right. You nailed it.
Good. How are you doing today?
I'm doing wonderful, dude. It's great to see you again. We had an
Yeah.
awesome hike this weekend. Happy to get to chat now virtually.
Chatting virtually, we had a great hike this weekend. I'm glad you touched on it because you had a little bit of a light bulb moment go off. We went out on Sunday, and that was the day that Tesla deployed its Robotaxi operations in Austin. And, Robotaxis was one of the many things that we were talking about. Can you go ahead and maybe just share with us, like, what was that light bulb moment for you, and what changed in your perspective, seeing the deployment, just our conversation in general, as far as how you view these Tesla robo taxis?
Yeah, sure. So, admittedly, I have not really been paying a ton of attention to this story. I mean, I am pretty decently aware of lots of things that are going on, but I don't really dive too deep into what's going on with individual companies. I kind of stay in my lane. I trade futures, I trade crypto and memes, and so getting into the nuts and bolts of the day to day of what a company is up to is just kind of outside of my wheelhouse. And I mean, the big thing that really opened my eyes was the fact that once Tesla has this capability on lock, once they have all of the approvals necessary, it is a kind of like a watershed moment because, as you said, a software update turns every single Tesla that's on the road right now into a potential or into a taxi, right? Which potentially turns every single Tesla owner into now a small business owner of a taxi company. Um, that
Not
kind
only
of,
that, not only that, it just increases transportation as a whole, right? The
sure.
more
Yeah, yeah.
taxis we have out there, the more ability people are going to be able to use this network. They're going to tap into it. And I wouldn't be surprised if, as this rollout goes, the total number of like car owners or total cars per household just plummets.
Yeah.
Why do you need two cars in a family if you have one car and then you're taking advantage of the robo taxis, whether it's Tesla, whether it's Waymo, whether it's another provider, like just in general, what's happening here is profound. And like, I mean, the software update to me is the scalability of what Tesla has is absolutely profound.
It's really insane to think about. It got me thinking about the potential, and maybe we'll talk about it later, the potential of other things that are common in a household and maybe, bigger ticket items and how those could eventually have an autonomous layer to them. I think it kind of like, to me, the light bulb was that it like really raises the bar for consumer products. Um, if I own something that is of use to me, could I put it to use somewhere else? Should I be able to put it to use somewhere else? I, as a consumer, might almost start demanding that from the items that I buy, and it might be a differentiator of any item that I buy, from a car to a lawnmower to, who knows what.
And I loved your analogy with the lawnmower of like, if I have an autonomous lawnmower, I can just send it out. Or the kid who runs the lawn mowing service in my neighborhood is going to have an autonomous one and just send it out and do the jobs for it. And it's
Why
going to infiltrate across the entire network.
That's what feels logical to me. I had a landscaping company some years ago, and I mean, it's hard work, you know?
It's hard.
Like if this tech had been around, if I still own that company now, and I know that there are companies that are building, there's one here in Longmont building AI driven lawnmowers. Like I would be heavily interested in investing in one of those and deploying that fleet around to start in my neighborhood and then perhaps, you know, other places too. It just seems like a really logical progression of big ticket items that everybody kind of needs or that lots of people need.
Yeah. Well, and autonomy's here. It's not going anywhere.
Right.
Today, at this very moment, it's the worst it's ever going to be.
Right.
right? Like it's only going to get better from here on out.
Yeah.
And so it really unlocks a plethora of opportunities. I want us to touch on the Tesla chart because we could take a look. The stock ripped what, like 8.5% on
Hmm.
Monday following the news.
Yep.
Since then, it's given it all back.
You did
Do
call that
you,
though too.
well, do you make anything of this price action? I mean, I know you're more of a futures trader. You're pretty in the weeds on the tape. Like, how do you view this price action? Does it change your thoughts as far as, Tesla's ability to scale? Or do you think this is one of those things where maybe we got ahead of ourselves on Monday? We're going to talk about Waymo here in just a sec. They rolled operations out to Atlanta the following day. Just the race to autonomy is here.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, like, are we overthinking this price action? Is this a buy the dip opportunity? Do you think? Like, do we need to see more? What do you take on this?
I think that the light bulb moment hasn't occurred for everybody.
Yeah.
Um, in my, again, don't really trade them, but in my time as working in this business, one technical scenario that kind of relates here, I think, is like a power earnings gap. You have this big, massive move. I don't know what the volume was like 2 days ago on Monday. It'd be interesting to know what the volume was like. But like generally speaking, when you have a big move out of a breakout, you don't really want to see it correct all the way back. Doesn't mean, 2 days doesn't make a trend.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of want to see continuation, maybe a small pullback, 50% of the previous day range, maybe, but really you want to see it like tight pullback and ultimate continuation, even if that tight pullback lasts, even if it just kind of consolidates for a handful of sessions. Um,
What
so
I thought was really interesting about this, though, like it broke the range, that I had been trading in for what, almost 10 sessions,
right.
7 sessions, something like that. It broke out of it and instantly retreated back into that range.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, we might have to go back to the drawing board if it breaks to the downside of that range. But to me, it's just like, okay, maybe we got a little ahead of ourselves. We're seeing Waymo come to fruition. That first day, all we saw was positivity from the folks who rode in these robotaxis in Austin. And then some stories started to trickle out about some negativity. I'm sure Elon and the team cherry picked, the invite only participants that came to demo these things so they
Of course.
would spread that positivity. So I don't know if it's just some herky jerky reaction to the news, but the tape is the tape. So
Yeah.
we don't necessarily want to fight it. We don't necessarily want to argue with it, but I am a little skeptical to see the full pullback from Monday's move.
Right. Yeah. I mean, have these past 2 days been lower volume than the breakout day would be maybe some kind of tell. I'd have to look and see. I can check on my end since we don't have the chart up here.
Yeah, go ahead and pull it up. And then I do want to switch into Uber and we're going to talk Uber and Waymo. So they teamed up to deploy Waymo's autonomous vehicles in Atlanta, your hometown, right?
Yep. Hmm.
So Waymo is in Los Angeles. It's in Silicon Valley, in San Francisco, Phoenix, Austin, just rolled out in Atlanta. It's seeing some absolutely wild exponential growth. I think weekly paid trips are up 5x year over year. Like these are some significant numbers that make you turn your head. Uber broke out the day following Tesla's breakout. So yesterday on Tuesday, this chart is absolutely beautiful. I don't want to bet against this name. It's going up and to the right.
Definitely not.
Do you have any, like, what are your thoughts between Uber and Tesla? Do you see one? I mean, it's not an apples to apples comparison by any means. It's a little bit more apples to oranges. But I think the way I'm viewing this and seeing this Uber breakout and seeing the price reaction in Tesla is it's just reiterating that whole thesis that like autonomy is here and it is happening and it is going to happen whether we like it or not. And you gotta ride the trend. The trend is your friend.
Is there a direct correlation or like maybe explain to me the relationship that Uber and Waymo have?
So, I mean, Waymo is partnering with Uber to deploy these vehicles. In select cities, they have the Waymo app. right? You go on Waymo kind of like Uber to get your vehicle, but within this Austin and Atlanta rollout, they partner with Uber. So Uber's
Okay.
now facilitating those rides.
Okay. So just from a total outsider perspective, it kind of feels like Waymo is a couple steps ahead in this game. Would you
They are a
agree?
couple step ahead. Yeah. I mean, they're using LiDAR versus Tesla's just using kind of like the vision technology and AI. So that's a big heuristic, right? Like we haven't yet seen how would full self-driving from Tesla do in a blizzard here in Colorado, right? Or how would
Mhm.
it do in a crazy rainstorm where like, as a human driver, you can barely see. That's
Right.
kind of some implications where LiDAR really comes into effect. But Elon's pretty adamant about like, listen, we don't need LiDAR. LiDAR's too expensive. And this is true. Like, what is it, 35 grand for a Tesla Robotaxi to build, and it's close to 200 grand for Google and Alphabet to spin up one of these Waymo vehicles. So the economies of scale are there. And I think that's the most impressive thing. And we've touched on it. Like if Tesla figures this out, their scalability is absolutely mind blowing,
And it's instantaneous.
instantaneous. It's a software update, man. They
Yeah.
push it via software.
Yeah.
It's
That's if there's a light bulb moment, that's it. It's a software update. Like it doesn't get simpler to understand than that. Every
mhm.
single Tesla on the road has a software update, and every single one of them now can be a Waymo. It seems like a total no-brainer, but again, I'm kind of a I don't know if I'm the best guy to I'm not an expert on the matter, let's say. I'm
You're
just
not an
a
expert on the matter. I mean, there's very few experts on the matter in this space to begin with, but like I loved the light just experiencing you having that light bulb moment like was really,
yeah,
it was like, yes, maybe I'm doing a good job of communicating like what is going on here because it is absolutely epic. And
absolutely.
Elon's talked about like we're following the Airbnb model. And for better or for worse, Airbnb has completely changed the housing industry. I mean, where I used to live in Sedona, places in the mountains, like they're feeling the crux of Airbnb. I don't foresee us having some of those downside repercussions. Now, I'm sure there are that we just, haven't discovered yet because these vehicles aren't fully deployed. But it's profound to think about. If you own a Tesla, all of a sudden you have this income generating asset. It's not just a liability on your balance sheet. It's not a depreciating asset that you're going to be making payments on and it's not going to earn you any revenue. Like all of a sudden you flip a switch and, your car goes out and does the job for you.
Yeah. Is it too early in the game to talk about the potential of retrofitting old cars with this tech?
I think so.
Okay.
I don't think that's out of the realm of possibilities, but I mean, we haven't really seen anyone do that. Um, And I don't know what do you think that would cost? $1 million to retrofit a car? $500,000? I don't know what that number is.
I don't
So
either.
until somebody does it, and there's some economies of scale to it, I think it is a little too early to tell. I do want to throw up, and there's this chart here I got, and it's Tesla and Uber since the April 7th low, right? When Trump had his little tariff tantrum.
Hmm.
And both of these stocks are up 38%.
What are the odds of that?
They're kind of moving in lockstep. So
Yeah,
to
right.
me, this is just telling me the autonomous trend is here.
Yeah.
Wall Street understands it. They see it. They're buying into it.
Yeah.
And this is a new reality.
Yeah, maybe it's just some rotation, like, and not even long-term rotation, just a Tesla pop 10%. I'd be curious to know. I could probably check on some software here and see how many days over Tesla's lifespan it did more than 10% in a day.
I
But
mean, it's
that's a
going to have a
huge
lot of days.
it's a huge it's probably a lot. Yeah, it is
Yeah.
probably a lot. It's a huge day. Like stocks don't tend to move 10% in a day. So it's a huge day to see it sell off some. Maybe what it does over the next day or two is probably even more telling than the sell off today. Does it continue to sell off or does it just like bounce hard tomorrow and go
Not only
back
that,
to
but like this is such a narrative driven stock, right? Like it moved up 10% on a very, very small rollout. They
yeah.
deployed what, 10 to 20 vehicles, very limited access. Like, when are they going to start adding vehicles to that fleet?
Yeah.
When are they going to start talking about, okay, in the next 6 months, and then knowing Elon, we might have to just assume it's going to take 12 months, but in the next 6 months, when are they going to roll out the Robotaxi service worldwide?
You're right. And
Um,
is there any talk of that?
yeah. I mean,
Oh, there
Elon's been
is.
pretty vocal about, like, listen, guys, we're turning this into the Airbnb model. If you own a
Right.
vehicle, your vehicle is going to be able to go make you money. So I mean, it's certainly on the roadmap. It's one of those things kind of when you're talking with Elon, like, who knows really what the roadmap is as far as time
Sure.
frame. Um, but so far he's delivered, which has
Yeah.
been pretty impressive. Now I want us to shift gears just slightly to the semiconductors, because the semiconductors, I mean, these are the picks and shovels of this AI infused paradigm shift that we're going into. And I don't even, I mean, what would you suspect? A million semiconductors are involved with autonomous vehicles. It's probably a mind blowing number. And we had a clean breakout from Nvidia today. It really started yesterday, but then today, super clean breakout.
Monster.
And, like, what is in your thoughts? And I know you're more on the future side of trading and some meme coins, and maybe we'll touch on that a little bit. But what do you feel are the implications of seeing the semis lead, and, like, what does this mean for the state of technology? I have my bull market shirt on. I got the memo internally with Stock Market Media. We're wearing bull market shirts
That
because we're in a
tracks.
bull market. So if semis are breaking out, are you going to bet against innovations in technology?
I mean, why would I, man? That makes zero sense. It's clearly the most important sector. Like, yeah, I don't follow individual names too closely. I actually don't even follow individual sectors too closely. Perhaps I should, because I trade NQ futures. Perhaps I should be way more mindful of exactly what's going on with XLK and these things every single day. I keep my charts simple, and I just kind of stay focused on one asset. But the chart doesn't lie. I mean, we've said it a million times, right? You're at all-time highs. All-time highs beget all-time highs. That's what happens.
Mhm.
So, to see all these things continue pushing higher would not shock me in any way, shape, or form.
How do you feel about just the innovations in transportation as a whole? Outside of, I mean, we've been talking about autonomous vehicles. We have some flying cars, some
Ye-
flying car stocks that are coming into the mix. How eager are you to jump in, like, a Joby aircraft or an Archer aircraft? Like, is that a world that you're open to? Are you like, that's too early, I don't want to get there yet? Like, where's your head with advanced air mobility and these other forms of transportation that are coming online?
Well, so let's talk first about just simply the idea of robotaxi, right? Like my wife and I, we were just in Europe for a couple of weeks, and we didn't have a car. We got around Europe by train, and incredibly efficient to get around Europe by train. Incredibly fun to not have to be behind the wheel, just to get to sit back, and all you got to do is catch the next one, and you're off, and you're doing whatever it is you want to do in the in-between time. We've talked a lot about the struggles of living in Colorado and getting from place to place. There's so many beautiful towns here in this state. It's a treasure trove, but it's a huge pain to drive 6 hours through the mountains or whatever it is.
I want to ask you real quick. I don't mean to cut you off, but have you
Yeah,
been to Telluride yet?
I have. Yeah.
Okay. That's
Yeah.
a big heuristic of mine. Like, it took me, 26, 27 years to get to Telluride,
Right. And
growing up
that's,
on the opposite side of the state, because it's a 6 hour drive. And
yeah,
it's like I passed 7 ski lifts, on I-70 before even getting to the
right.
exit to get to Telluride. Like, why would I
Yeah.
go down there if to your point, if I got to suffer behind the wheel?
So I'm getting to the point here. The first point is like, what you said, I probably need to get a new car at some point. My car's falling apart, and I got to go to Denver. And sometimes it feels a little sticky to get down to Denver. Or
Mhm.
sometimes I don't want to take my car out into the mountains because, well, what if it breaks down and then I'm stuck? If there was a button I could push and I could hail somebody's Tesla really quick and they could take me out to Ned or wherever it is that I want to go, that's awesome. The second piece, though, is what you're asking about flying cars and such. I mean, There is not, I mean, I guess there is, like, technically I could charter a plane or something to get me out to Telluride, or Aspen or something like that. I'm going to pay an absolute arm and a leg for it. And I'm not going to do that. I'm not actually capable of doing that. I'm not going to do that. Uh, an alternative to that seems like flying cars, hop in one of these giant human-sized drones and take me to Vale or take me to Aspen or take me to Telluride in what, I don't know, 45 minutes, an hour, maybe something like that. I don't really know. I haven't done the deep research to find out
No,
how
but you're
fast
spot
those
on.
things go. But that makes a ton of sense. Uh, the idea of driving those things feels horrifying. But
You're not going
if
to be
we can,
driving them.
that's right,
There
exactly, right? Like
to
if we,
begin, there's going to be a pilot, and
yeah,
then maybe 5, 6, 7 years down the
autonomy,
road, there's not going to be a pilot, and it's going to
right?
be autonomous.
You're gonna press a button and it's
You're
just
going to
gonna
press a
go.
button,
Yeah.
and it's going to go.
I mean, planes are safer than cars, right? Just
100%.
just by nature. I have to assume that the drone technology will get to that as well. It seems like I think because we're both like hyper optimists, we see it as like that's coming next week. It's probably not. It's probably like 10, 20 years from now, but I totally would welcome it. I would totally be on board with participating in that form of transportation. I think it would be exciting. It would allow me to access places that were just not hard to access, but just kind of a pain in the ass to access.
Yeah.
It would allow me to come down to, I know you're in Colorado now, but when you were in Sedona and we were talking about hanging out, like hop on one of those things and fly down to Sedona in an hour and hang out with
Well,
my
and
buddy
here's,
Riley.
I mean, Jason, I know you'll kind of get this, but like, this is me putting on my tinfoil hat to a certain extent because when these paradigm shifts occur, there's also these periods of enlightenment. And in my mind, just everything that we're seeing within transportation, like, just think about everyone's like kind of level of consciousness day to day. You don't have to be upset and angry for sitting in traffic and be honking your horn and have all these little microaggressions. You don't have to necessarily worry about like your car breaking down. So all these little bits of microaggressions or micro negativity are going to add up. And I don't know what the implications of that are. I mean, I could be a crazy person talking, but Nikola Tesla talks about the world operating in frequencies, vibrations, and energy. And to me, if we're kind of eliminating some of that negative energy, like what are the repercussions of that? I don't know if you have any takes on that. Like again, it's me putting on my tinfoil hat, taking the Wall Street shirt off a little bit, but like that's part of my thesis as far as like why this is going to work. Like people are just going to be happier with this
I,
alternative.
I don't think it's tinfoil hat. I asked a question on my Twitter yesterday or the other day. What do you use AI for? Is it your teacher? Is it the kid that you pay to do your homework? Is it something else? And I think it all boils down to like perspective. If these tools allow us to potentially be wildly more creative, they allow us to potentially get tons more done. Um, they kind of level the playing field of intelligence, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
everybody is as smart as everybody else, and then it becomes an imagination game and a creativity game. And what can you do with this stuff? How can you use this stuff to help push you further? I was a musician for many, many years. I have stopped playing music regularly, but I still have musical ideas. Can I use AI? Can I like hum a melody into an AI product and say, I want it to kind of be like this tempo, like this beats per minute, this kind of vibe. I want it to kind of sound like Tame Impala. And I kind of, like
Yeah.
I have the ideas in my head, but the execution to the idea, like getting from the idea via all the execution that it would historically take is very difficult. You got to have instruments and you got to have knowledge of microphones and programs and all these things, right? Like you could look at it super glass half empty and say, oh, we're all just going to get stupid and we're going to farm out all of our consciousness to this AI and the AI is just going to do everything and we're going to become fat blobs. Or you can look at it like, no, we're going to utilize the AI to kind of break through the struggles that we have,
Hmm.
like in day-to-day life, whatever those struggles are, whether it's getting down to Denver efficiently or it's I have this song in my head and I can't get it out because I actually don't own the instruments that I would need to create it. And
100%.
and everything in between.
Yeah. Okay, so what? It's been probably 2 years, maybe longer, that you've been talking to me about meme coins.
Yeah.
I gotta say, man, like you are on the forefront of the meme coin space. Like if I have any questions about meme coins, you're the guy I'm turning to.
Yeah, thanks. That's cool.
Let's before we kind of dive into one of these coins in particular, like can you maybe paint the broad brush of like what is happening with meme coins? Like what does this mean societally? Like meme coins are here. We can see everyone wants to bet on things. We know Howard Lindzen has his whole degenerate economy thesis, and like he's been spot on with that. To me, meme coins are just like a ripple effect of a degenerate economy. Like, where do you see meme coins as an asset class going? Like, what does this really mean? Because this isn't going away, right? Like, meme coins are going to be here. They're going to be more prevalent. They're not going to just die by the wayside. Maybe the specific memes, like they
Yeah.
all have their shelf life, but like as an asset class, like where do you see this going? How do you see this developing?
I it's so hard to say where it's going. But the financialization of and the instantaneous financialization of an idea, of a saying, of a moment in time, of an event, of a person, of anything is profound, I think. Um, the ability to participate in any of those things in a moment, in a, you know, in anything, and have
And I
some sort of
mean,
financial stake in the game
yeah.
is interesting. Um, memes have been around forever. You could argue that language is kind of like the first meme.
Hmm.
Um, I envision that memes are never going to go away. I definitely Howard talked the other day about a supply problem that just supply was just going to be exponential, and I don't disagree. I do think that it we need to be thinking about that to some degree about like what supply means and how supply affects the future of these things. But just from what I am, the way that I'm looking at it, um, I guess maybe like one very simple example is like, some years back, you would talk to, well, maybe not you would talk to young kids, but like the whole narrative around young people is wanting to be content creators,
Hmm.
right? They want to be on YouTube live streaming. They want to or Instagram or Facebook or whatever, they want to have companies that they're promoting and they want to like get endorsement deals from these companies that they're helping promote, whether it's like a lipstick company or a shoe company or a toy company,
Celsius.
whatever it might be, right? Like they
Yeah.
want to be influencers, and through their influence, their businesses are coming to them because they're influential. Well, that requires a whole business operation, right? Like it, you first have to have the channels. You have to acquire the businesses who are interested in working with you, and so on and so forth, right? It's a whole thing. That doesn't have to happen anymore. The reason why they wanted that was for attention and for money, right? Like
Hmm.
those are the only two things that you would get out of that. Fame, which is attention, which is money. And now you can do all those things without the company. You can just launch a coin and you can hop on your Pump Fun live stream and you can play Fortnite and you could be a pretty girl saying crazy things, and all of a sudden your coin is worth a couple $1 million. And if you were wise when you created that coin, you own quite a bit of the supply, and guess what? Your net worth just went way up. Um, Now, how long that lasts for those individual creators, who knows? It could be a couple hours, it could be a couple days, it could be a lifetime.
Yeah.
Like
I want to
we
get
don't
into
don't
though,
really know.
like, so we saw the creator movement within these meme coins, and like the Hawk Tuah girl, I think she rugged everyone, right? So
She
like
did.
we need to make sure everyone's aware, like there's no rules at this game. Like
No
it's
rules, and
no
and
rules.
there
It's
likely won't
ruthless.
be. There likely
But
won't be for some years.
yeah, the administration's been pretty friendly for crypto. But like, what does it mean? Like, let's say I create an AI agent, and one of the tasks within this AI agent is, to launch a meme coin to then go fund itself to then go run other jobs. Like, have you seen anything of that so far? Is that something you are looking for as a heuristic of just like maturation of the asset class?
I mean, you're already seeing it. There was a meme coin called Dither. I believe it was called Dither. Maybe it was something else. I can't quite remember. I think it was Dither.
That's okay.
And the idea of Dither was like it was an AI that was trading and it was taking all of its gains and buying back its supply. So taking supply off the market. That's kind of interesting. That idea never really took hold.
Mhm.
You have Fartcoin, obviously, right? Truth Terminal didn't launch
Yeah, walk
Fartcoin,
us
but
no, no, walk us through that. Let's spend a minute or two on that. So,
yeah,
what is
Truth.
like the origin story of Fartcoin? Because I mean, most people have probably heard of it by now, laughed it off, but like, how did this come about?
Hot air rises, man. Truth Terminal is a Twitter channel, and if like I know that they're doing other things too, but it's it kind of came to popularity on Twitter, and it was just an AI that said really really crazy shit, really crazy
Mhm.
shit. Go read its channel or go read its stream. It just says crazy things, and I believe that somebody kind of asked it once one random day, like if you had a coin, what would it be called? And it responded with Fartcoin, and it just said like Fartcoin would be really mimetic, and somebody created the coin. The AI itself didn't actually create the coin, but the idea
That's got to be next, though,
spurred from an
right?
AI. I
That's got to
mean,
be next.
I'm sure it's already happening. I don't know that I've seen one in particular that's really taken hold, and perhaps there is one that's taken hold. There's a lot of coins out there, and I'm kind of always discovering new ones.
Yeah.
Um, they had there was the tech came out where you could like tweet and you could say at there were a couple of different launch coin and a couple of different like um, pieces of software that kind of got spun up where you could tweet at them and they would launch the coin for you. You wouldn't have to go to Pump Fund and put in the information and all that sort of stuff. It would just like, hey, at launch coin, create this thing, or at whatever, create this coin. And it would just get spun up and created, and it would kick back a contract address.
Hmm.
So, the barrier to entry just continues to get easier and easier and easier to creating coins. As far as like,
Now,
and
so I think that's a good pivot point too, because you say something like for AI, crypto is just the currency in which it's going to transact.
well, I've
Like,
thought about that. I've certainly thought about that as almost like the bigger the bigger picture. We're getting into more like what does this all mean? Like what is the purpose of
well,
consciousness?
what is no, I'm okay, we're not going to go all the way there, but like what is the purpose of meme coins? Like there's going to be some sort of form of utility in my mind that's going to come out of this thing because
They can
to
be
your point
whatever,
of the barrier of entry is dropping. I don't think we're much more than 6 to 12 months out from like a very popular meme coin hitting the market that is solely from AI.
100%.
Like
Uh,
it's going to fund itself, and it's going to figure out how to do tasks, do jobs,
mhm.
get that attention that you're talking about, and it's going to be all in AI.
I need to do some research and find out if it already exists because I'd be willing to bet it does. It's
Yeah.
just hasn't like it just
Hasn't gone
hasn't
up 10,000% in a
it
day,
hasn't
so it's not on
captured.
people's radar.
I mean, the thing about memes is like memes is all about attention, and attention is kind of tricky. What
Hmm.
what what drives attention today may not be what drives attention tomorrow. What gets all of the the spotlight's on it, if there's something that already has a ton of spotlight on it, then perhaps it something else that should have spotlight on it doesn't,
Yeah.
doesn't get that attention because everybody's over here looking at this thing. So, yeah, absolutely, meme coins can be super, super utilitous, and they could give back in many ways, like if that was the thing that people were really interested in. It kind of feels more like meme coins, a purest stance of a meme coin, or like the most purest form of a meme coin
That it's useless.
is that the story is that the story is like you can't break away from the story. It just keeps on getting attention. And sometimes
Yeah.
that attention is a person, sometimes that attention is a philosophy, sometimes that attention is a saying or a moment, something that happens in a football game, who knows what it's going to be.
So there is a token, a coin, meme coin that you brought on my radar. Now, I'm not necessarily a meme coin trader. These things move absolutely ridiculously, right? Like they're up 100% in 5 minutes or something silly. And that goes to the downside as well.
Of course.
Useless though. Now, here's the hilarious thing in my mind. Like, what a great name, first and foremost, because like this thing is quote unquote useless. There's really no utility behind it. But like, what are you seeing with this project? Why do you think there's relative strength there? Is this purely just a meme? Is there any utility here? Are you going to just ride this thing up on the way up and get rid of it and dust your hands off and say on to the next one when it starts to crack? Or where is your head at with useless specifically? And
I
we
mean,
got a chart here. Let me
you
throw it
could
up.
you could argue it cracked on the 16th, right? Like back 7 days after it launched, it went from what, 40 million to five and a half, 6 million. I mean, it essentially gave back what, 75-ish% from its previous all-time high. The thing that's interesting to me, I did actually start trade when I first started trading 2017. It was in crypto. I got totally wrecked. I switched to I switched to options after that, got totally wrecked again. And it took a couple of years. And then I got the job at TrendSpider. I was there for 5 years. And when I was at TrendSpider, I talked to so many professionals. It's how I know you. It's how I know JC and the whole All Star gang. It's how I know John Bollinger. It's how I know just all these people. And I got to like pick these people's brains and learn lots of really important things. It turned me into the trader that I am. One thing that I always heard from everybody was keep your eye on the assets that are really strong when the market isn't, when the overall market isn't. Well, that breakout on useless from 10 million to 30 million, whatever, on the ninth or whatever it was of this month, that was to the day that Bitcoin hit the lower high and started correcting.
Mhm.
Bitcoin's been rallying for the past couple of days. It's beautiful. We're really happy to see it. But the whole time that Bitcoin has been selling off, look what Useless has been doing. Everybody says follow the names that are really strong when the big overall market is really weak. They're going to be the strongest ones to come out of the move when the overall market is strong again.
A rising tide lifts all ships, right?
I I don't think that there are coins that have been doing well. Another one is USDCU. There's a handful.
Is this a meme coin on USDC?
No, 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 no. It's unstable. It's called unstable coin. And the chart doesn't look quite as powerful and strong as this, but it looks pretty darn good.
Yeah.
There's been a handful of coins that have done really, really well through the whole time that Bitcoin was correcting. That's interesting to me. And that's really why it's got my attention. I mean, the narrative is great, right? It's useless. Like that's one of the
It's
rallying
a brilliant
cries.
name. It's a brilliant name
It's a
for a meme
brilliant
coin.
name. It could have been. There's a lot of other coins that have come out with similar names, worthless coin and no value coin and whatever. Like it's easy to create these things. Useless, I suspect that there are some big players with big positions in this who are relentlessly pumping this thing, who, they own quite a bit of the supply. It's manipulated. Like, I don't think that this is just some natural organic thing that's happening. But this is the world that we live in, right? You can either play the game or you can point at the game and say that's wrong.
Yeah.
I'm not here to judge what's right and what's wrong. I'm here to try and find things that are gonna, make me money.
You're looking for
And
alpha,
I'm looking for
and
alpha,
and you're
and
finding some alpha in meme coins.
yeah.
Now, how would you recommend like the average investor approach this? Do you think like just kind of laugh it off, understand it, and look at it as like a risk on heuristic of, okay, maybe I should be longer, more risk assets in my
No.
retirement accounts? Should I dabble and play and like go try and find the next 10,000 bagger in the meme coin space? Like how would you tell like a good friend, maybe your parents, about meme coins?
Yeah, we're going to be doing quite a bit of that over at Spot Trading here over the next months and hopefully longer. I'm going to be writing a newsletter for those guys, and I'm going to try and talk through all of my thoughts in that regard. I do not think that a meme coin ripping means it's a risk-on environment. There are other things happening under the surface that can cause these coins to rip. That makes me not think that. But
So do
if
you think
I
this is an asset class like most folks should just ignore?
No, I don't. If you are an active participant in the markets, whether you're a day trader, a swing trader, long-term investor, doesn't matter. If you are a relatively active, you watch the markets, maybe you check your account once a day just so you kind of know what's going on. If you look at charts, holy shit, you should be involved here. Like it all boils down to sizing.
Mhm.
Like you should have some very small percentage of your total nut delineated to these. And you should take that very small percentage and you should divide it by a lot, like turn $10,000 into, let's say, 500 bullets, $25 bullets or $50 bullets or whatever. And start taking shots. Like, because coins do this. This coin was launched. It was zero when it was launched. It came across my radar at 3 million market cap. I bought it then. I did not hold it through the whole drawdown. I've rebought it. I've rebought it at like 87 million the other day. Uh,
Yeah.
I think as
Do you
long
know
as
off
you're,
the top of your head, like what's the market cap of fart coin? Do you know?
it's just over a billion. It's like
So
$1.05. I mean, the thing is like as it becomes more normalized that these coins can do that, I think it's going to be more normalized that these coins do that,
yeah.
right? Like a billion is absurd. Pepe is at like 6 billion. I mean, I've been in Pepe since 2023. I think I got into Pepe at like 50 million market cap or something. Like I got into Pepe within the first month of it existing. And I've been lucky in that I held on to that position. But
So are these though, like would you just kind of lump these into a similar bucket of like venture investing, right?
yeah,
Where
it's just
where you might miss, let's say 19 out of 20 shots, but that one shot that hits is going to make up for the rest. So like that's why you're saying divvy up your small asset allocation to multiple tokens.
especially if you don't really know how to trade. If you're a trader, price action concepts work really, really great on memes because they're
They're
inefficient.
manipulated.
Well, they're
Yeah.
inefficient, right? Like
Okay.
NQES are the most efficient markets in the world, and they will take out both sides. They'll just chop and take out this side and then take out that side. And they do that because they're efficient, right? They don't they're very, very hard to trade. They're very tricky assets to trade. Meme coins, the tricky thing about meme coins is you just don't know. Like they could go to zero in an instant.
Hmm.
because maybe, maybe the supply is bundled, 75% of the supply is bundled, and you don't know how to identify that that's the case. And all of a sudden, the person that owns 75% of the supply sells all of it in one click of a button, and your position goes to zero. That happens all the time. But other times things like useless happen. And if you put 25, $50 into useless at 3 million or 10 million, well, now you got 500, right? Like, or
Yeah.
more.
Yeah.
It feels like it feels crazy to me that more TradFi people aren't really talking about this, that they're not really participating in it. If they are participating in it, people on my timeline that I follow, and I follow a lot of traders, I've been in like the TradFi trading game for past 5 years, and I see Michael Naus talking about it. I see JC Peretz talking about it, and that's about it. I don't really see many people talking about it.
Yeah.
And it blows my mind because they
Well,
do.
I think part of the reason why you don't see too many people talking about it is when at this point in time, maybe the most notable meme coin is fart coin.
Right.
When your most notable asset within your little asset class is called fart coin, like is anyone going to take you seriously?
Well,
So maybe that's an advantage
until
to it.
they until they have the light bulb moment, like maybe that's what it takes. Like I had the
Yeah.
light bulb moment and I went and I bought some Tesla. Like I've never owned Tesla in my life. And not to say that I shouldn't have before. I totally should have before. And not to say that I wasn't familiar with what Tesla was doing. Like I get it. I understand what Tesla's doing, but the the light bulb moment is what I needed to buy some Tesla stock, right?
Mhm.
And perhaps the light bulb moment will come. Maybe I'll help some people find their light bulb moment. I don't know. I hope that that's the case because
No, you will. I
I
mean, you
do
helped
think
me
that
a little bit because I was just laughing this shit off. I was like, "There's no like, why do I want to dig into this?"
right.
But then you look at some of the market caps of these things, and it's like, oh,
It's
like
serious. I mean,
it. I mean, it's a
Pepe
joke, but it's serious capital.
Pepe at $6 billion is nothing to laugh at. Like that is it. Maybe it's small potatoes relative to Nvidia, but for just a little frog on the internet, like that that's worth some. That's crazy. That's crazy.
It's worth what people are willing to pay for it, and right now it's worth 6 billion.
Right.
So,
Right.
all
And
right, we definitely
I also
go
do want to
ahead.
say, like, we're talking about this right now, could very easily be the top for this particular swing. Like,
Absolutely,
this thing could correct back to 50 million market cap
it
in,
could go to zero.
it could go
You
to
don't know.
zero in a day. It
Yeah.
might, I don't know,
That
but
might be how it ends. Just
it,
one last gasp
one
of breath.
one big red bar back to zero.
Yeah.
I've been in that scenario more times than I'd like to remember. But again, that's why you keep the position size small and you just take little shots, little shots, little shots. And every time you take a little shot, you learn something. You learn a little bit more about the products that you're using to analyze these things. I mean, really, like the infrastructure for analysis of these coins is just really starting to ramp between bubble maps and that sort of thing. The idea of like following wallets. JC talks about how we can track wallets and you can just watch what whales are doing at any given time. That's been possible for a long time, but the simplicity of understanding it, like products are actually being built now that are making those things kind of simpler, making swapping simpler, just being able to participate in these markets has been tricky and convoluted forever. And
Yeah.
it's only in the near term that it's all starting to get a little bit easier for average
Well, and
Joe to.
I think a good way to wrap up with that, and like kind of part of my analysis and thesis of like, these things aren't going away, is the barriers of entry are getting disgustingly low. I wouldn't be surprised, like you said, it wouldn't even be surprised if right now there's an AI with a meme coin that is using it to harness and kind of get paid.
Mhm.
But like we're just at the confluence of all these technologies, and you got to pay attention to it.
Yeah, for
Like you either
sure.
die or adapt. And I'm not saying people should go out and buy meme coins, but like we at least got to be aware of what's going on because when you got a coin that's worthless, useless fart coin at $6 billion. Like that's not nothing.
It's not nothing. I
That's not
mean,
nothing.
you kind of said it best on our hike this weekend when we were talking about the war. This was before the ceasefire. Why is the market not more fearful? Why is the market so resilient when bombs are getting dropped and the whole news cycle is like, huge world leaders at each other's throats saying, gonna destroy your country? The reason why, or a potential reason why that's the case, is because we are on the precipice of this crazy technological advancement that is bigger than just a drop in the pan. It's actually potentially like the next industrial revolution. And
Yeah,
this is the whole purpose of Godspeed, right? Like to
absolutely.
shed light on this reality. And I think you're right. Like the potential of World War III, I do understand wars are historically like good for markets, right? Like they're a big way that the United States does business. I get all that stuff, but the fear component is palpable, and the fact that the
Well,
markets,
I think what you're trying to say though, like you would have expected some sort of reaction. We didn't get a reaction.
I would have
If anything,
expected,
we got a reaction in the opposite direction of where
correct,
everyone was expecting it to come,
right,
you
right.
know. But
So maybe it's the glass half full thing. Like instead of being a doomer and saying that this is the end for humanity and the end for organic consciousness, maybe this is just the logical next progression of everything that we're meant to do as humans.
I think so. And what that means, I mean, nobody really knows, but you got to look at the charts and follow where price is going. So
Yeah,
that's my North Star
yeah,
at the end of the
for
day
sure.
is price. When you see Nvidia breaking out to all-time highs, when you see the Qs right there, like this is where we're going. This is where the world's heading. But Jason, I just want to say thank you for jumping on here. Um, I'm glad we got to piggyback this off of after our hike. It was absolutely incredible.
Yeah, man, likewise. Pleasure to get to join you and stoked for what you're working on. I read all the newsletters.
Thanks, man.
You keep me informed. Like I said, I don't really follow these things too much on
Is
my
there
own, but
anything I'm going to ask for a little bit of constructive feedback from you on air here? Is there anything you want me to do more of?
just keep doing what you're doing. Keep going down the
Okay.
rabbit holes, man. Keep going down the rabbit holes.
Pull the
Explore,
threads.
be curious, and take us along for the ride.
I will.
We're living in a world where it's very easy to generate AI content, like your voice is why I read it. If it
Yeah.
was some rando, I probably wouldn't read it, but I read it because it's your voice and it's what you're inspired by, um and that's inspiring to me.
Well, thank you. I
Yeah.
appreciate it. All right, Jason. Enjoy your weekend. I guess the rest of your week. We still got some time before the weekend,
Yeah, let's get another hike in soon.
but let's do it. Let's do it. I'll talk to you later.
All right, bud.
Bye.
See ya.